Yeah, you kind of have to bear with us here. We can't hear you very well, but did you want us to introduce ourselves?
Yeah, right after I introduce myself.
Okay.
It'd be nice if we had something right there. I'm adjusting our speaker a little bit. Did that help at all, or is that worse?
Yeah, we can kind of hear you now.
Okay. Okay, that sounds good then. We'll go on. So because Weston 1's 2018 facility plan meeting with the State Construction Department, School Facilities Division, and we'll introduce ourselves first.
Amber Leach, Planning.
Charlie Kaufman, Planning.
Troy Decker, Planning.
Deb Silty, Business Manager.
Greg Gregory, Facility Manager, and also Superintendent LaCroix is here.
Okay. Good morning, Brad.
Good morning.
So I'm going to go ahead and we've been having some streaming issues. I'm going to go ahead and turn off our video. It's not because you're not important, but we'll just I think we'll hopefully get a little bit of better audio out of it. So with that, let's go ahead and go down this. One of the things we've really done in the last several years is kind of streamline this process. There's a lot of work on the front end. Different put in different time according to the personnel and stuff. Amber, we really appreciate it because she always works hard with the districts. And so I don't know all of your roles in preparation of this, but I'm sure some of you maybe work a little bit more than others, but we do appreciate you being here, and however you make those decisions in your district is really your choice. And the great thing about this facility planning process now is that we do a lot of details on the front end of the preparation, so that when we get into 6 of us here, we just can focus on those things that we really need to talk about, and not necessarily spend a lot of time on data that you've already looked over and confirmed. So with that, as we go down through this, if there's really nothing to say, we'll just move on through it. And if there's something that's important to address, then certainly we'll slow down. So let's start with tracts and deeds. Your block grant payments are really important to you, obviously. And so the accuracy of the acreages is important because it impacts your groundskeepers. What is generated for groundskeepers, how you use that is your business. But at any rate, that's really important. On this one, I was asking yesterday on the Newcastle Middle School. We don't have acreage, and actually the middle school and the high school are together on a single tract of acreage for 28.56. So I did confirm that and put down here that it's not as if we're missing the acreage, it's just included within the high school tract.
Correct.
Okay.
That's
property profiles, these are important because the details of these property profiles, addresses, etc., actually go over to WDE. We send those on a regular basis, so the accuracy is really important. The gross square footage, that last column, is important because within that gross square footage, we do receive ADM from WDE on an annual basis for the year before. And then we actually put that in our square foot calculator. It drives an allowable square footage. And that allowable square footage, obviously, is what you get your major maintenance payments on. So that's an important part of this process. We appreciate you doing what we do every year, looking through that, make sure we get it right. District has reviewed enhancements. That's important because actually we're required on an annual basis to report enhancements to the Select Committee on School Facilities. So thanks for looking at that. The district appropriations update. By state statute, we're required to basically turn money back that isn't expended after projects are complete. So looking at your notes and looking at our notes, we're going to go down through these. 1165, 1166, and 1167 are all complete. And if there are any monies to revert, which in this case there are none, they've all been expended. So that's 1155, 65, 66, and 67.
Give me 1 second. There we go. Okay.
now. How about that 1190?
Yeah, let's talk about that one a little bit closer. 11, before that, 1168, that one is, there's nothing to talk about, it's closed. 1190, okay, so replace external siding for safety and health on Newcastle. So you're saying then 1190, this project has been completed. So are you guys, how long has that been completed? Is it out of warranty now, or is it still in the 11-month warranty?
I'm guessing we're right at the end of warranty.
Okay. Are there any issues that you are foreseeing with that at all, or is the siding performing as you desired it to do? And more importantly, the quality of workmanship and material is adequate.
Yeah, Troy, actually, I would have to go as it's probably exceeding our expectations.
Okay.
You probably don't hear that much anymore.
Hey, that's a positive. We'll take it. That's great. No, that's wonderful. What kind of siding did you end up putting on to keep the woodpeckers out?
No, we went with EFIS. It was an overlay, Troy, but what they did is they added two more normal, I'm going to call it a mesh, but the final mesh they put over it was a real heavyweight Panzer mesh. And I've sat and watched woodpeckers just hammer the heck out of it, and I can't even find where they're leaving a mark anymore.
That's wonderful. Yeah, Amber just smiled at me. She was thinking woodpeckers. She doesn't know the history. Yeah, literally woodpeckers were woodpeckering their siding in their school.
I thought he was really joking just a minute ago. I'm so sorry.
Oh, they virtually had our buildings almost destroyed. We had birds that was actually getting inside of the plenum because they went through. But no, and actually I brought this up at some of the SFD meetings. I mean, if anyone was ever going to move forward and be using an EFIS system like we did, and there's even a remote possibility of woodpeckers, this is definitely the way to go. Save a lot of heartache.
Okay, well, good. We're glad that performed well, and we will keep you in mind as woodpecker infestations continue across state.
Okay. What I want to be noted for, woodpeckers.
You could probably be a sequel to the new movie that just came out on Woody Woodpecker.
Yeah, there you go. You know what? Maybe I'm missing my opportunity. I ought to be a consultant.
There you go. A woodpecker consultant. Okay. All right, Greg. Well, thank you very much. We're going to go ahead then. I don't know. It looks like about 120,000, give or take, in that, and we'll go ahead and revert those funds this year.
Yeah, I think we would feel comfortable with that.
Okay. Security funding. So obviously there's a history to that. I think we ended up getting about two separate appropriations over the years of about $9 million. So last time we went to ask for monies for security, additional monies, basically the select committee kind of took a look at the expenditures and said, hey, you guys have got to do a lot better deal. So we've explained a couple things. This is not first of all, the systems themselves. There's a limited amount of consultants out there to help districts understand how to actually use to meet the needs of the different elements. And especially in the far rural communities, they're having a hard time getting contractors out there. We've had bids that actually weren't even replied to. So so the slow expenditure of these monies, there is a reason. I think it's complex. I think it involves a lot of stakeholders within districts. Decision making needs to be precise, and you guys want to maximize your opportunity to protect your students and staff and make a safe environment. And then just how many people are available to do that work and consult to help prepare to do it across the state. But as of this, I think this was actually ran in December, so it's a little bit old. I know you guys are looking at several options for updating security with this money. why don't you talk about the challenges maybe you've experienced along the way, as well as where you're at specifically in moving forward with addressing security needs with the money.
Okay, Troy, yeah, you're right. We've kind of run into a few issues, but you know, the problem with this phase one was pretty much everything that was listed here we'd already done. So we're kind of sitting here with this pot of money that we'd love to use for some other projects, but I'm not sure how to go about it. You know, and when Tanner was still our PM, we talked about it quite a bit, and between him and us, we kind of decided that we'd probably look at maybe if we could just sweep this all into a contingency fund and then be able to go ahead and move forward with some other security projects. But excuse me, but Tanner's gone now, so I'm not sure really what or how we can go about this now. I mean, yeah, we can definitely use this money, but just not under the guidelines we've got right now.
Yeah, the challenge with that is simple. When the legislature appropriates money for a specific purpose, we cannot go outside of that scope of work for appropriation. So, are you still there, Greg?
Yeah, well, yeah, I am, and we discussed all that, and but isn't there also provisions in this that hold on just a second, Troy. Maybe we've got our computer now. Can you turn it up, Mo?
Yeah, I can.
Tell them they could go after any of the 8. They only have 6.
Okay, go ahead and talk, Troy.
Yeah, go. Okay. So, do you want me to sing? I can sing.
Yeah, I think we're getting close.
Okay, good. So, looking at, we are confined to the 8 elements. Now, it's they can't. Well, I guess they could probably go after these other, even though they weren't originally. So it looks like Amber made a point. You guys really generated money out of 6 of the components, but there's a total of 8 to be addressed. So I guess looking up there, do you guys see?
Well, you gotta remember, exterior door locks includes D7103, D7101. That's
I gotcha.
right. So it's all within that.
I gotcha. So, Greg, the bottom line is it can only be used for these elements. So, you may have to turn off your phone if you've got.
Yeah, give me a second.
You bet.
Give me just a second here, Troy.
We should be good. If you guys want, we can move.
How do I get it?
Now you
Throw it out.
Right.
element of the address. But you adjust that line. They're gonna have to do it.
Greg, how you?
Can you hear us?
Yeah, we're still getting. I think you're still on.
Gregory,
So you can mute yourself, Greg, and then keep going on Brad's.
Hold on just a second, Troy.
No, we should be off. We should be on here now.
Okay, can you hear us now?
We can. Can you hear us good?
Good. I think we're in business now.
Hey, Bob Herzog just joined us. We just started the security. We talked about history a little bit and expenditures. So while Tanner was their project manager, he had, as you well know, he had started exploring options for bringing all monies back into a contingency and doing whatever. So I know that we are not going down that road for, we talked to him about here's 8 elements. Those elements are the only ones that you can reprioritize or reappropriate. So you can take money out of any single category and put it into another category. You got a one-time shot on that. So I'll let Bob explain that just a little bit. But help us understand before we move on to that explanation. Are all of these elements 100% remedied in your district, or do you have some further needs in any single element that monies could be used and moved to?
Troy, let me run down this quick. Okay, exterior door locks. We probably 3 years ago, 4 years ago, we went through and completely replaced all of our door hardware, cores and everything. So I would say that that's been done. Control system, that is something that we're looking at now for the high school, but we've already got that for the middle school and the elementary. Point of entry, I'm not sure. Is that like adding a little security vestibule, or does that come under secured vestibule? I'm not sure what point of entry is.
Point of entry, the secured vestibule is separate. You see that on the next line. But point of entry is elements that you're going to have specific to where your vestibule is. If there's other elements that need to be included in that, there's on the website. There's a real good explanation of what all these elements are under our website under the security tab. It'll be a much better definition than I could give you just right off the top of my head. I don't want to. Back to.
Is that going to be under?
Yeah, go on. Okay, so you get down to our security. Okay, you need to get to the.
There you go. School safety and
School
security.
safety and security, right there. The stand.
This one here?
Remedy guide. Yep.
Okay. Gotcha.
Wow.
And then,
So yeah, if you look at what they'll give you what these are here as far as. So
what they are.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, secured vestibule. All right.
So point of entry is right there.
41.
So you go down to page 41. You put 41 over.
Right here.
Change it. Not gonna get it.
I've never done that.
No, that's not doing it.
You just do
I was
control
pretty
F.
excited.
Whoa, 41. Hit the brakes. So this kind of gives you, where's our definition here?
Yeah, I'm thinking, see this here.
Numbering's off.
I think the page number.
Page number's
I was, yeah.
You're correct. My bad.
33. Yeah.
Yep.
40 and
There you go.
41. There you go.
Okay, so come on down from that because what it'll do, it'll give you a nice definition here. Okay.
Oh yeah. Day one phones.
Okay.
So this is primarily addressing your A phone system. Do you have the push button, push to talk with the little camera eyeball in it?
We do we've got two, the middle or the elementary is the only one that has a push button from exterior that has a camera. They see who it is and then they can open the door.
Yeah, so that point of entry, that 12,000 that you've got there is based upon that type of a system. It doesn't specifically have to be an AI phone, but something of that nature, so that you can identify who's there and be able to buzz them in.
Okay, that's something that we possibly would be able to use.
Okay.
You know, the other thing, you know, and just cut to the chase here a little bit, there are some options. Either we can look into, definitely we can use some of that two-way communications money for our intercoms and that kind of stuff, just for the simple reason they're a mess right now. And the other one is a visitor management system, you know, i.e. a Raptor system or something like that.
Yeah, so you do have money in a visitor management system, and that kind of leads us into that next conversation that Troy was speaking to, is about transferring monies into a specific account that you already have. So we have projects that are listed for the district. So as long as we have one of those that's been identified by the FEA when they went through and did your assessments, and if we have a project already, we can transfer that into that particular project as long as they're part of that first 8 and use that money for that particular purpose. It's a one-time deal, and basically what that is, it's a letter from the superintendent addressed to us here at the SFD. Probably the best way to do that is address that to Shelby Carlson, our administrator, and requesting that those funds be swept from those other projects and put into one specific project or 2 specific projects. And it has to list the fact that that money will not be able to be recaptured at any future date. It's a one-time deal. So it's obviously it's a pretty important decision to be making to go along those lines. So that can be done, but we can certainly talk about that after this meeting at some time that's convenient for you, and establish how we can get those transferred for those specific elements.
Yeah, and actually, right at this exact point, it's kind of a mute point. What we're doing is we're in the process of getting some cost right now on a few of these projects. So that would be one of those deals. Once we get some quotes in on it and stuff, we'll kind of piece it around, feel which direction we want to go as far as the security money, and then we'll probably be looking at using some of the 10% major maintenance money that was allocated towards safety security.
Sure, sounds good. Yeah, whenever you're ready to do that, we can certainly do that. The other thing that you need to be aware of is that if there's elements beyond what the funding is available that we've got there, you can use 10% security monies to augment that. And in a lot of cases, you actually can use regular major maintenance too. So we can speak to that when you have your prices together.
Yeah.
Okay, well, thank you, Bob. We appreciate you joining us on that. And we know you got other things to do. This was the perfect time for you to come in. So I'm gonna add you here. That doesn't mean to stay, of course. Okay, Bob, we're gonna go on since we're done with security.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
You still hear us okay, right?
Yeah, Troy, you're kind of breaking up a little bit.
That's the story of my life.
Okay, that sounded better, whatever you did there.
I joked.
Okay.
Capacity, Charlie.
Absolutely. So Greg, as you know, every building has a building capacity based off of teaching stations for your buildings. So for the elementary school, that's your final capacity after we did all the measurements and everything from FEA, from the addition that you guys have put onto your building. So 532. So that's based off of our commission methodology, 40 square feet for grades 2 through 6, and then 50 square feet per student grades K through 1. The high school right now, 504. That includes, let's see, let me pull up your campus really quick. I'm thinking about it.
It includes multiple buildings.
Right, I'm believing it includes everything.
So that's a campus number.
That's a campus total. So I'm just trying to verify that really quick while I have it up here. So yes, that is there. Yeah, so that includes the capacity with your VOAG building as well in there.
Okay.
So that's your campus capacity.
In the middle school.
And the middle school is just the middle school portion of that building.
So you guys have the opportunity, obviously, for growth, and we're going to talk about a little bit about major maintenance and your low enrollment numbers in just a moment. It's kind of interesting. Brad, are you still there?
Yeah.
I don't think we've talked to a school district yet where the capacity, we see that you guys have, for the most part, in 2 of the buildings, over 200 student capacity could be increased, give or take. Another one about 100 and some. But we hear across the state that, yeah, we may be under capacity, but you know what? We use every single space programmatically for all your curriculum and how you deliver education and all the challenges. I would imagine we'd get a mimic of that from you as well. Just your schools, with regard to spaces, you're using them, even though you may be a low capacity, you're using every space to optimize the educational opportunities. Would that be true?
The high school. Is this with that bubble going through the high school? That 504? That small class, where are they going?
They're there right now.
Or the 207?
207, yeah.
They're in there now. Yeah, Troy, what we was just talking about, we had kind of a bubble of a really, really, really small class that's in that high school right now, that's probably hurting us a little bit in that one. So I think that's just going to be kind of an isolated deal.
Right there.
Yeah, that's an anomaly there.
Yeah, looking at your enrollment projections as we go through, you guys are a pretty stable community. Last October, you guys had a kind of a bumper crop. You guys had 67 kindergarten students. But over the years, you can kind of see where you guys we were kind of low here in the early 2000s. You've actually grown a little bit. Your height was probably between 2009 and give or take 2011, and then you've kind of come back down to an average in the last 6 years. Your average is about 57 students, so you're hanging there around the give or take the 60 mark for kindergartners coming in. Have you guys done any kindergarten roundup or anything this year yet?
Yeah, we have.
Good. What are those numbers looking like so far?
Pre-screening was about 70, but we know not all of them will attend.
Okay. So I don't think there are any surprises for you or us. I mean, it looks like you guys are pretty well a very stable community for the most part. As your students come through, like your K through 6, it's about 59 students. If you look at your 7 through 12, you guys are about 57 students. So your actual survival rates, how these work is if you take your 2014 kindergarten, they end up going into first grade, second grade, third grade. So it's kind of a stair step down as they work through toward 12th grade. And then what we do is we take 10 years of trailing data, these last 10 years, and basically we just look at the survival rate from each grade level to the next over a 10-year period. You guys have a 98% survival rate from kindergarten to first, and then you guys actually gain students. You're on average your first and second grade. Third grade, it looks like you guys actually lose students, but then you pick them back up, and you guys have a really good survival rate. You're 102, 101, 100%, clear through about the freshman year, and then across the state, we pretty well see this.
Junior year is brutal across the state.
Yeah. So we see this typically. Actually, your 100% in high school is maybe a little higher than some, but or in your senior year. But this is a typical attrition in your high school years across the state.
Okay, so when you guys say you see that across the state, give me an idea or 3 why.
It's kind of interesting. We've had different comments on that. One is that if you're in an area where, like by Gillette, sometimes students actually leave and start working early, and they might finish their GED, but they're basically going out into the workforce. So that's one possibility. The other possibility, obviously, is sometimes,
Turning 18, not really having to be committed to school.
yeah,
Yeah,
I mean, there's
turning
the
18,
normal
right.
dropout where you guys, and you know this better than us, where a student just, they really don't have an interest in finishing their education and don't. So those are kind of a couple possibilities. We know that there are some teenage pregnancies that may eliminate a female from maybe finishing the degree and maybe go for a GED down the road as well. Those are the kind of things we're seeing. Are you seeing something different?
No, not real. I mean, no, not anything different. I was just wondering if it's a statewide kind of a thing,
Yeah.
whatever people in the state were talking about. I would say one of the things that we're starting to see is the game between public school and homeschool.
Interesting. I would think, and this is just me personally, I would think that around junior high, high school, a lot of students come from maybe parents decide to homeschool in elementary, and then when it gets to the upper grade levels, they might integrate them back into the public schools. I guess I haven't. It's kind of interesting. Maybe someone else has different information here. I suppose potentially in the high school years, you could be getting some students pulled out for homeschooling. But I almost was thinking the opposite, where those elementary students then enter in junior high, high school for co-curricular or curricular activities, for the higher level maths and sciences and stuff like that. But I suppose there could be a correlation between those lower numbers for homeschooling in high school as well. And I'm sure that does happen. I'm not sure how much of an impact it has on the survival rates.
You might have pre-graduation.
That third grade number is interesting.
Yeah, that's true.
There's a few factors. I mean, honestly, I think it's probably a few different factors for the state. Ones we've mentioned, possibility of those that can graduate early. There's room for those, and then those that actually could graduate early and go to commercial classes during. There's some of those as well. Then it's a combination of three real different things, probably.
Do you guys offer, what do they call that, where you can attend college? I mean, that doesn't affect your enrollment. And I would assume it doesn't affect ADM, does it? When they
classes help enrollment. Because the only way that you can get the college stuff is either through dual or concurrent at our high school.
So it still is.
Okay, good.
Thank you.
All right, anything else there?
Nope.
You guys again are pretty stable, but you've been kind of on a slow down. Overall, K-12, you are decreasing slowly. Hopefully that is at a leveling off stage or maybe a slightly increased stage based on birth rates. Has Gillette had any effect on you whatsoever, do you think?
I don't really, not that I think I could point out, no. Proximity to South Dakota probably has a bigger impact on us than anything, because we do have kids that can jump the border, per se. And I think the other thing right now that's hurting us is we're just losing people as a county. The latest study that we just looked at, I think we're down 3 to 5% in Weston in alone. So I suppose that probably has more to do with our capacity issues than anything.
Mm-hmm. Well, definitely a downturn economy, and so we'll see what happens. You know, it's kind of interesting. I last week I met with a guy from Wyoming Contractors Association, and he was talking about coal. And I don't know how much is being said out there about coal, but other than basically getting that coal out of the United States over to Asia, there doesn't seem to be much of a market left, or that will continue in the United States past perhaps the next decade.
Yeah, we're hearing the same thing.
Okay. All right. So thanks for that discussion, Charlie. Statewide, we know that you don't have a capacity need, but we always keep this in front of everybody. We
Sure.
do still have districts that do.
Right. So every year, as you know, for our SFC policy 2013-20, we arrange the capacity our priorities by high, medium, and low. Anything that's above 100% is high. Anything between 95 and 100 is medium, and low, obviously, between 90 and 95%. And so, really, we just look at this, everybody just kind of give everybody the information that this is what's going on in the state currently. We're currently right now we're doing funding for Rock Springs and their intermediate options for their capacity. So, not just more for your information.
No, appreciate that.
Kind of interesting in the state, we're a little more cautious as we build out. So we used to build, build these for literally hundreds of students in capacity. And now we're kind of taking a slower look at that and making sure we don't overreact. And then we have a downturn in the economy again. And we have schools that are empty. So kind of a challenge.
Very much so.
Major maintenance calculation is allowed for.
Absolutely. So every year we get a question from school districts how the major maintenance payments are calculated. And so there's two big factors, and this is not great for you guys. So we use ADM, which drives your allowable square footage for your district. And so when you're looking at that, there's a couple things. First, you're getting 170,001 square feet. In actuality, you have 1,000. And then two, that's a little low, so that has nothing to do with it. But there's also a in major maintenance fund. So one of the things we did last summer was a study where we looked to raise all the values of the major maintenance calculator, estimates, current value, and look to double those, or to raise them significantly to double the payment to close the gap. So it's interesting. I appreciate hearing about the pipeline schools. Back in the 80s, we built correspondence for growth. With the SFC, we've built 5 years classification for growth, and so we're trying to make sure we close that gap with districts.
Hey, Charlie.
Yes,
Charlie. I don't know if it's how you're turning your head, but sometimes you're really clear and other times we don't hear anything.
I'm wondering, Brad, do you have just a normal telephone right there, a conference phone?
I don't do anything normal.
Yeah, whatever you're doing, Troy, you're coming in clear. I don't know if your guys' speaker is closer to you than it is Charlie or what.
Yes, I have a phone.
Well, if this we can have you guys.
Let's try the camera microphone here. Let's go like that one.
Okay, we're going to try a new microphone here. Tell us if that's any better or worse. This is
okay, it sounded good when you was talking.
Okay, how about me now?
No, you sound good now.
Okay, we changed microphones. So, unfortunately, technology is a little touchy. Okay, so let's go back real quick. So in that major maintenance study, the only thing that did survive out of all that was the 7-year phase-in. So we're going to continue to look at options to try to close the gap between major maintenance funding and what school districts have, because, like you said there, the pipeline schools, they sized them for growth, and, at the end of the day, we're the ones who sized them that large as a state, and we need to be able to find ways to be able to close that gap and maintain them.
Yeah, and you're right, Charlie. We've been kind of fighting this for years. When we had our school built, we kind of looked at classroom size, because I think some of those classrooms, they vary anywhere from 1,000 to 1,100 square feet, which is a humongous room. And, and we even talked to them back then and said, hey, can we cut the size of this room down a little bit, maybe add 2 more classrooms or something like that. And they said, nope, from here on out, this is the size all classrooms will be. So that's where that all come from.
Yeah, I mean, and yeah, it's just different. I mean, you size them. The way we size them now is different than we did when the pipelines came out. So it's just different all the way around.
Yeah.
At any rate, I think also there was some movement on ADM, how that's calculated, Brad. I know you're familiar with that. We're anticipating that may decrease ADM reported to us by WDE. Is that your interpretation as well?
Yes.
So in reality, what we gained in major maintenance probably is going to be eliminated in some instances due to the ADM calculation and how it's going to be calculated. So you guys are probably going to break about even. Still not have necessarily an increase or decrease.
We're going to be lucky to break even.
Well, I hope you do.
Yeah, not as mad as I do.
Looking at charter schools, you don't have one. You do have a current usage of the high school library space, a combination library and student recovery. So that's basically a program, it looks like. So we acknowledge that, and you're just trying to provide an opportunity for these students to get back into the game and be able to graduate, it sounds like.
Correct.
Condition-wise, Greg, you can attest to this. I mean, I bet I can only count maybe on one hand how many people are still in facilities back when I started facilities director in 2005. I mean, we just have a changeover of personnel across the state. Superintendents change over at about 25% a year of the superintendents from the state change one way or the other. Business managers are a little more constant within districts. They have longevity, I think, and staying where they are a little bit longer. And then facilities managers usually phase in and out on a fairly regular basis as well. Some communities, you guys are fortunate. You've had Greg quite a few years and he's still there. But at any rate, in our department, you know, I mean, we were looking 3 years ago, we've had over a 30% change in just our staff. And before that, when Ian Cavalier was here, we had like a 80% some change of our staff. So one of the things we've really tried to do as this planning continuum is to just continue to acknowledge that with all the changeover within the state and districts, we've just really tried to provide appropriate training. You are very well familiar with this stuff, so we won't spend a lot of time on it. But preventative and routine maintenance are a very important part of how long a building lasts and the quality of the building itself and its services, how it allows services to education. As a building ages, major maintenance is an important part of the formula to taking care of those buildings, as you well know. And then as it gets older, around 0.65 or so, that's just kind of a guideline, not necessarily in concrete, but capital investment needs to happen in these buildings sooner or later for renovations and replacements. And on top of that, somewhere along the continuum, if districts are struggling with major maintenance and don't have enough, we have districts that make their payment is under $100,000 for major maintenance a year, but they have a $400,000 roof that needs replaced. And then in larger districts, they have so many demands, they may get millions of major maintenance, but they have 30 to 40 buildings to take care of. So we do have component projects as well, and I know you're very familiar with that, Greg, and we appreciate your participation on the component prioritization committee in the past.
Okay.
This is just page one right here of over 400 buildings, education buildings. The higher the FCI number, FCI stands for Facility Condition Index, the more deferred maintenance is related to the systems within that building. This is a composite of those scores. Anything that's a 0.4 or above here has been identified for capital funding and is either funded already or we have some kind of planning study going on that will look at funding it in the future. And then we have 0.3s and down, and buildings basically, as these numbers decrease, their deferred maintenance is represented as decrease. In your school district, in reality, your high school fitness center is a 0.35. That's your highest need within the district, and I'm sure you're aware of that. But everything else educationally, you guys have really good scores on, and it looks like you're able to keep up with the maintenance needs in those buildings. As for your ancillary buildings, they're in really good shape as well.
Yeah, we try our best to keep them that way.
Your major maintenance, you guys do a 680 form, basically report that back to us. It's a reconciliation of your major maintenance and expenditures. We just take a snapshot usually of last year's, and just kind of, and for illustrative purposes, we don't ask you to defend your priorities or anything like that. We just recognize that each year you organize and prioritize and spend major maintenance, and we're thankful that we have those resources that can be provided to you, and you use them according to the decisions that you as a district make. This is a numerical breakdown of those last year's priorities, and then a system-by-system breakdown per building of your major maintenance priorities. These are really important because we are asked from the legislature from time to time to give reports, and they want to know what money's spent on. We can show it to them across the state. Your condition scores, and if everybody may be familiar with this, but every system within a building is scored if it's existing. Condition scores range from 5 to 1, 5 being excellent, 4 being good, 3 is fair, 2 is poor, and 1 is failure. We usually just for districts run these off. I was kind of looking at these this morning a little bit and what you've got going on, Greg, particularly. I did recognize down here in your major maintenance balance that you guys, after encumbrances, this is just a snapshot of January 31st, but you guys are anticipated to have about $730,000 remaining funds. You'll get a payment of about, give or take, $700,000. You'll be up to $1.4 million. And then as we look back at these needs here, the other thing, and I think we've worked through this with districts, and that's a simple fact that sometimes there are the scores, and you know this, Greg, and the spreadsheet is in your facility plan and name, but if you click on these in that spreadsheet, these surveyor notes, they'll tell you exactly why they were scored. Sometimes they're scored low because of age. And functionality-wise, they may be still performing well, but they're scored according to an average lifespan. So we acknowledge that these scores should be interpreted by the district as they see their priorities fit, and that not necessarily every one of these have to be addressed, although we certainly encourage districts to address those that have a real material impact on safety, health, and condition of the building. Anyway, Greg, any comments on that?
Yeah, Troy, pretty much all that, and you are right. We can go down through some of this, and I think we've done it about every year. Some of those twos are just trivial. I'm not going to waste the money on it right now. There'll come a point when then we will, but what I do want to bring up is, and I think what I would like to do is bring on an architect to deal with this. But what I would like to do is bring them on and look at going through. Let's see, can you go down a little bit farther on that? Oh, that's okay. There you go. The exterior windows, and we've also got exterior doors. I think we've got some roofing issues that we need to look at in that building. But look at just bringing on an architect and let's get a plan on that and try to get a bunch of that knocked out. Now the fittings, I know we've got some real issues there. The problem is there's so much of that. All of our plumbing, is either in a block wall or poured in a concrete floor. That's going to get pretty extensive when if and when we get to that. Kind of the same thing with the sanitary and waste, like in the fitness center. We've kind of started on that a little bit, but I guess I guess I just wanted to make a note that VOTEC definitely, and I suppose I'll have to get with you guys and we'll see how to go about bringing on an architect to start taking a look at these and then moving forward on a process to get them taken care of.
Well, we sure respect that, and major maintenance is a great opportunity to investigate these, and then you may find out that the remedy is, these deferred maintenance costs are built on a calculation, a percentage of deferred maintenance in that system, and oftentimes are not holistic in regard to owner's overhead, design fees, testing, and all those things. And you're familiar with that, Greg. So these numbers usually are, I'd say, on a regular basis, more to remedy than what the deferred maintenance number is. And so I think you're wise in exploring with major maintenance opportunities and then defining the scope and stuff. And then if you find where one is running into literally hundreds and hundreds of thousands, that may be a great opportunity for you to submit a component project request.
Right, yeah. And that's why, our major maintenance account looks like we've got a bunch socked away right now, but it's going to go in a hurry when we start rolling through this stuff.
Okay. So just out of curiosity, on your you guys, by the way, do look through your work orders on a regular basis, and usually the business manager, but we do appreciate you guys looking at those and cleaning up the database. And if you've reported everything on a 680 and it's done, you close them. These are works in progress or open. And so we don't need to take a particular look at that. We just try to keep the database clear. We were talking about component requests, and we have just felt so blessed in the last several years. Last year, the governor approved $21 million in the second year of the biennium for component requests, and had some very specific needs met throughout the state. And then this year we had like 37 requests, I think, and out of those, the commission forwarded the first 16 for our $10.5 million, and all of these were approved. And so, and Greg, you're familiar with Larry Hartwell, of course, and his work, but just like you were talking about, number 6 on this list was approved at $700,000 for sanitary lines replacement. And so those are the kinds of things that are being prioritized by that committee on a regular basis.
Right, yeah. And as we set right now, and of course things can change any time, I'm not looking at any component issues at this time anyway.
Okay, no problem. I understand that. And of course, you well know that any component request is usually out about 2 years anyway by the time you get the break. So.
Right, yeah.
Legislative session. A lot of things happen. One of the things, up there where we were talking about your 10% security monies, and I just wanted to make sure that we cover this appropriately. I'm sure you guys are aware that the 10% security monies designation within the major maintenance payment, it's not an additional 10%, it's just a portion thereof, the payment, and that can be used for any security need, not just those items that qualify for the major maintenance definition. So for instance, you could, if your playground monitors needed fluorescent vests and walkie-talkies, you could buy it out of there, and that wouldn't qualify as major maintenance. So just remember, as you start looking at these needs, that 10% is definitionally wide open for whatever security needs you have. It may or may not qualify for the definition of major maintenance.
Right, yeah, and we're aware of that, Troy. We're kind of right in the middle of a lot of this stuff right now. We're just waiting for numbers. We put in for some Homeland Security money. What it all boils down to is we'll wait and see what we get for money from them, and then we'll probably adjust it with either some of our security money or the 10% money that was allocated for security.
Okay, and so just to remind you then, you do have that 64, almost 65,000 you can use for security. And then down here, which was really neat, let me go back to it.
Hey, Troy, let me ask you a question quick on that. Okay, so we've got the 64,000 for this year. After next year's payment, would that 10% be added to that 64?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
That's what I'm thinking, but I was just making sure.
Yep. So that's the thing we want to make sure we communicate. You'd have a give or take 120, 130 grand.
Right. Okay.
Okay.
So House Enrolled Act 18, as you know, we were talking about the major maintenance study a little earlier. It doesn't just the major maintenance definition to include items like code and site items that didn't qualify before for major maintenance. The 7-year phase-in is gone. And so those are the kind of big highlights for that. House Enrolled Act 7.
Let's back up for just a second. Hey, Brad, just so you know, and you probably, I don't think they have anything in phase-in, do they?
No.
But there are districts, we've had that, you probably know this, that if a new building was built, it took 7 years to get 100% major maintenance. And like for year 1 was 0%, year 2 was 10%, then it went up to 30 or 35% or something.
Right.
So this is really helping. Well, let's face it, like Natrona County that has two pretty well brand new high schools, a couple new elementaries. This is going to make a huge difference because they get 100% major maintenance on day 1 of the opening.
After the first year, right?
Yeah.
So
yeah,
right after the warranty.
That's all right. They got another $18 million in reserves. They're good.
So anyways, House Enrolled Act 17 just clarifies the building and square footage definition for emergencies. Basically that before they could only be used on the building, now it can be used on the site. Also requires commission approval for alternative design and construction methods. And then also clarifies how the building and square footage is being included in the major maintenance computation. So that one's going to be interesting, how that one's going to change all the square footage on that. And that requires a commission approval of disposal of buildings in that one as well.
that's an interesting one because districts have been had full authority to dispose any building they wanted to. Now state statute of July 1, it requires approval before disposal.
Right. So House Enrolled Act 5, it added a 3rd division to our department. So before, when they first formed our department, it was construction management and school facilities. And for the people who worked with both, basically both departments, or both divisions, excuse me, we were kind of left there in limbo, and now we're part of the operations division. So everybody that's in this room right now is in the operations division, project managers, and finance. So it just helps us to be able to keep our accounting a little more clean and be able to keep it all one color of money, I suppose, than that.
It's kind of the color of money, and we just want to make sure, and we work with the state agencies as well in facility planning and finances, and we're just having a heck of a time because you can't categorize. When you're getting paid out of one pot of money, but you're doing work in another division, it was just creating some heartache. So we're glad the legislature made that change.
Yes. And then House Enrolled Act 62, that was the major budget bill for everybody. We got everything we asked for, plus a junior high school in Laramie County. So nothing too much to say on that one.
So supplemental budget, districts are able to ask if they, what's in the bill actually says you can ask for supplemental needs if it's an emergency or some unanticipated need or a refinement or modification of projected funding. So, but this is kind of sometimes a silly question, but we want to make sure we ask it. Does the district see an emergency or some kind of unanticipated need that you would ask for capital funding to justify before the legislature during the supplemental budget?
As of today, no. Tomorrow, who knows? You're right, it is a silly question.
No, I'd like a district sometime to say, yeah, we want a new school. And we're going to defend that before the legislature.
Okay.
So and then I would have had a heart attack and I would have started going, okay, Greg, can you justify it? Okay, anyway.
We'd be looking for a defibrillator.
That's right. So I'm just going to write here, the district has no supplemental budget requests.
Don't forget to put today on there.
Yeah, that's right. Today. That's right. And you guys well know that if there are emergencies, we do have an emergency fund and are able to help districts if some emergency pops up that's unforeseen and it qualifies and keeps students from having an education. We have those resources.
Okay, Troy, at the meeting last week, did I hear correctly? And they bumped that up to $2.5 million or something like that.
So the emergency fund,
Yeah.
they bumped it up 4 million, so it's up right around 5.1 million after July 1.
Okay.
Okay, so unique issues, ideas, and concerns. Is there something that we have not talked about that we need to talk about, district, that you would like to address before we close the meeting?
No, I mean, if everything stays the same, it's been working great for us. I guess, I don't see any concerns at this point.
Okay, I'd say one of the things, I know you guys are working through the security, and we do appreciate you looking for other opportunities to spend that money to meet your needs, to make sure students and staff are safe and visitors. So we do appreciate that on our end. I think we do have some kind of, I can't remember what it's called, but we have some kind of, the select committee, I think, is having us to kind of review security funding and kind of see if there's easier processes by which to address security needs. So we'll probably be doing some kind of interim study this summer on security and reporting back to them. So we'll keep that at the forefront because we know that that is definitely local as well as a national topic that needs to be addressed.
Yeah, and I agree, Troy, and I apologize. You kind of middle of what we got going on right now, and I would like to think within a couple, 3 weeks, we should hear about this Homeland Security money. So then we'll kind of know which direction we're going to be going.
Wonderful. Okay. Well,
because I look at it, if Homeland Security wants to spend their money, I'll gladly let them spend ours, and we'll figure out something else for ours.
Okay. Work with, once you figure that out, work with Bob, and he'll help you as much as he can.
Okay, so should I work with Bob then on starting to get a architect on board so we can start moving forward with this VOTEC stuff?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, I would, yeah, and if you see him, you might put a bug in his ear, and then I'll get a hold of him here as soon as things slow down just a little bit, and see what we can do to start moving forward on that, because I would like to get moving forward on that at ASAP.
Okay, that sounds good. Staff, anything?
Yes. I just want to take a moment to say thank you, Deb, for all the hard work you were doing. She was real proactive and was ahead of the game during our pre-meeting, and it's a pleasure to work with you, and keep backing her up. She makes you guys look good.
Thank you.
Are you saying that we help looking good?
I'm just giving credit where credit is due.
Oh, okay. Well, I was taking it the other way.
Okay, with that then, thank you. I'm going to go ahead and end the meeting, and hopefully sometime here we can get back up and visit your district, and it's always nice to see you guys in person.
Stop by anytime.
Okay, we'll talk to you later. Thank you.
Thank you.